This week on the Peace Podcast. So here's a lesson for everybody that I think that I've learned is when it starts becoming detrimental to you mentally and who you are as a person, that's the time to cut it off.
Yep.
I noticed that some of the situations that I put myself in, I started operating at 50%, or I started giving into who they were as a person, which I knew I didn't want to be, instead of becoming who I should have been. To another edition of the Peace Personal Development Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Leonard Matthews. To my right, I'm going the other way this time, Mr. Garrett Hatterley.
What's going on?
Yeah. Then Mrs. Alexis Harris.
Woo.
And shout out to Miss Alani Sinclair. Yeah. How you guys doing this week after the Super Bowl? Super Bowl killing anybody?
Extremely disappointed.
Extremely disappointed. We're in Indianapolis, so nobody likes the Patriots.
No.
Yeah. Why are you disappointed? Did you watch the whole thing?
Yes, sadly. I already predicted that they were going to win because they're the Patriots. Now they have 6 Super Bowl rings, all 6 of which Tom Brady's responsible for.
Impressive.
Impressive.
It's not impressive when you cheat to get them all.
Did he cheat for all of them?
Not all of
He
them,
deflated the balls for most of them.
I think that was just one.
So I'm not a Tom Brady fan, but if you can manufacture a way to win 6 NFL rings, hey, you're good.
It's
hey,
right.
You're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But, other than that, it was fine. It was one of the lowest scoring games in Super Bowl history, but it was, yeah. But, it was good. Other than that, it was a good week.
My Colts weren't in it, so I really didn't care. I was like, Colts aren't in it. Don't really matter.
Right. Well, I'm glad you guys all survived the Super Bowl, survived the snowpocalypses that we had,
Mm-hmm.
You guys almost died on me, Garrett and Alexis, but you're here today.
We're here.
Yeah, we're here.
You made it.
Now Alani's not.
Yeah. Gosh. So unreliable.
Unreliable people.
Speaking of unreliable, got a question for you guys, a fun question to start off. If you were stranded on a desert island because your friend left you there, they flew off in a plane with snacks and cheese and grapes and wine
And a nice book.
and otters and a nice book,
Oh,
my gosh.
my heart.
what movie would you bring? If you were stranded on a desert island, what movie would you have?
Venom.
Oh, wow, that was quick.
It's either Venom or
Venom?
It's either Venom or Narnia.
What?
They're so good.
Yeah,
they're polar
Venom.
opposites, but they're so good. I love those movies.
Venom or Narnia? Like the new Venom?
Mm.
Okay. I don't know if I've seen it. I haven't seen it.
We have it on DVD for you.
How do you have it on DVD?
Oh, we went out and bought it.
Okay.
Watched it. She did. We went out. I liked the movie so much. We went out and saw it in theaters 2 days in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
That good, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
And he cracked up every single time. It wasn't when you can watch a movie repeatedly and you still laugh.
Yeah.
That
was Garrett.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Garrett, yeah.
I love it. That's dedication.
What about you, Alani?
If I were to pick a movie, I'd probably pick Castaway. Island.
You know what's funny is I think the exact same thing.
Find myself a Wilson.
I think the exact same thing. That movie would give me hope. I'd feel compassion, yes, I get it.
I've never seen it.
Castaway, you've never seen
I've
Castaway?
never seen it either. I just know that line.
Oh, man. It is, for real, a really, really, really good movie. I'm not a soft person, but that movie kind of gets me, emotional.
Really?
Yeah, it soaks you into the movie and, you feel it. We got to figure out a way we got to have a peace night where we watch Castaway.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I could do
What
that.
about your movie?
Castaway. So Castaway was going to be my one. And then I was like, nah, don't do Castaway. So Pursuit of Happiness would be it.
That was good too.
It's funny because they're two polar opposites. But yeah, Pursuit of Happiness. I absolutely love that movie. And there are clips out of that movie that I watch every single morning. That's how I'm obsessed with it.
Really?
Yeah,
good.
every single
That's
morning.
good, though.
That's a couple clips.
Yep. I like Pursuit of Happiness and 7 Pounds. Those are both really good.
7 pounds. Okay.
Don't let me watch that movie because I will cry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tearjerker. What about
Yeah.
you?
Either my favorite movie is The Hangover. I can continuously, I can watch that movie no matter what, and I will laugh.
Laughter.
It's not a, it's a satchel.
I
Indiana
feel-
Jones carries.
I feel like I'd be so mad if I was on a deserted island and I was watching Hangover, because you'd be able to see all the lavish things and
Oh,
Vegas
heck
and
no.
traveling and
Yep.
I'm on a beach. I'm gonna be tanning. That's all the lavish I need.
Oh my god.
I'll make my own cheese and grapes.
that's a great perspective. You're on the beach, get to tan.
Yeah, see?
That is a
Tan lines.
fantastic
Some of us
perspective.
would need sunscreen. Some of us don't stand it.
Yes.
We could use the sand as the sunscreen.
Yeah, Alani, I'm not sure what you need.
I would have to use like mud to put on my body so I wouldn't burn.
Yeah,
SPF 5000.
yeah, I'd be baked to crisp quickly. Cool. Did you want to talk about Wheel of Mission a little bit, Garrett? I know we haven't had too much experience just yet.
Yeah.
Where you want to make it a routine? You want to talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
what you did? I feel like I don't know if I got to see more or you got to see more.
I think you got to see more because you were facing everyone.
Okay.
My back was to everyone, so I just got to like get a quick glance, pass trace. Quick glance, pass trace.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think it's a good experience. I think every time you go, you get to do a different job per se. You got to be like the cafeteria lady in a sense where like you got to face the people, put stuff on the trays.
Yeah.
My job was to push the trays down so that the guy always had trays at his disposal to hand out to him.
So pretty much it's like a very well-oiled machine that they have. And Garrett was honestly like halfway playing security, but making sure that the guy who was handing the trays out wasn't being bombarded. Like I feel like that's what Garrett's job was.
Yeah.
But we all had like a very small piece-ish, say, of this puzzle. So I was like putting salad dressing on salad. Like that's how small my piece was. Another
But I
lady
mean,
was putting...
it's a big job too,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, it was
so
5
without
people.
you,
Yeah. No. It was definitely a big
Yeah.
job that was going down, but it was interesting how, like, you know, all of us were doing a very small piece, and then, like, there's a lot on this tray at the very end.
There was 9 of us.
There's
that-
9 of us?
9 of us in that little
Damn.
area that would like go around in a little circle.
Yeah.
Basically, that would like from the like you grab the tray all the way to me handing it to the guy, and there was 2 guys in the back constantly bringing out food when we were running low. So it was definitely like a well-oiled machine.
Right.
But I would love to go. I mean, also so I don't have to do that same job all over.
Yeah, we'll switch places next time.
Yeah, I'll get next to that lady and have her talk to me.
Oh, yeah, no, that was cool. I got to talk to her. I think her name was Cindy.
Yeah.
I got to talk to her, like, the whole entire time. I got to know all the spots in the city to go to. I was learning about everything.
You know.
Cool. So to get into the topic of the day, and I don't want to take up too much time with this. I feel like we can go forever on this subject, but I want to dive just a little bit into 2 words, and it's justice and mercy. And the reason this kind of came up, number one, is because of instances in my life, but also I was thinking about, like, there's a difference between, or at least in my opinion, there's a difference between justice and mercy, a big kind of gap. But it's something that we all need and we all want at times. So, like, for me, the definition of justice is for the wrongs to be right. I guess would be a good way to put it. And then mercy is for, like, the less fortunate to be cared for, or for someone who doesn't deserve to get the better end of the stick or something like that. It's like that's what those 2 words mean for me. But, like, shouldn't we be offering both of these at all times?
why?
I would say yes. I mean, mercy should always be extended to everyone that we come into contact with. I think justice should as well, to the extent that, like, Leonard, if you did something to me that I didn't like, I would seek justice in that by saying like, hey, what you did wasn't cool. Like, you're my friend, that should never happen. The mercy would come in over the top of that and say, but you're my friend, I love you a lot. It's completely fine.
What if somebody got what if somebody was murdered? What if, like, in all seriousness, what if Leonard killed me, murdered me?
Yeah.
Would you show him mercy?
Would you show me mercy? And this is where
That's a tough one.
this is where the spoke gets put in the wheel, because
Yeah.
we should be showing these at all times. But then, like, what is justice?
See, and that's where I think I differ. I don't think that they should both be shown at all times.
Okay.
Justice, it is like
You like
serving.
one or the other?
Well, I mean, like, justice in a sense is, it's not that you're trying to make all the wrongs right. It's like there are rules set for a reason. There are laws set for a reason.
Mhm.
When people break those laws and when they do things against the rules, it's justice for if you're speeding and you hit somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get a ticket. You're probably going to have to go to court. That's just.
Okay.
Mercy in my eyes is when they really, like, somebody truly does not deserve to be forgiven. And it just makes me think of, like, where I know that there's no way I would ever forgive them, but I'm like, you know what? They don't deserve that. It makes me think a lot about Jasmine. My stepsister, her father was murdered. And yeah, completely, it was murdered, horrible. And she had to face the two gentlemen who murdered her dad and part of her family.
Mm-hmm.
And she forgave them. And which is like, it's mind blowing, because you're like, they murdered so and so, and it's just, it takes a big person to show mercy, I think.
Yeah.
I think it takes a certain kind of person, though, to show mercy as well.
Right. So how do you balance those? I guess, like, how do you know, like, what's the limit of mercy, or what is actual just? Like, I feel like some people, like, our standards of justice are going to be completely different. Like, what,
Correct.
you know, there's stuff about to come up right around the corner. You know, somebody's getting put on trial, and, like, how do you decide what is the right punishment for that person? You know, or should they receive a punishment? Should we be showing them mercy? Like, how do you balance forgiving somebody, I guess, or letting them learn their lesson?
That's tough. It's very tough. Because what?
Go ahead.
Because it's very hard. Like, we need to show people mercy. We need to make sure that they are loved. But it's really hard to say, well, how far can you go with that?
Yeah.
Like, you could say, to the point that you get walked on. I mean, I feel like it would even be past that. To an extent.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Like, and this is, like, being 100% serious.
Yes.
When you ask somebody not to do something,
And they do it.
and they do it, and they can still look at you and tell you that they still love you, and that you don't deserve to be mistreated, and that you don't deserve, like, of course they did something wrong, but
Yeah.
the just thing would probably be to completely take them out of your life and remove them.
Yeah.
That's what you quote unquote should do.
Mm-hmm.
But by telling that person that no, it's okay, like, first time, like, you messed up, that's your one shot. I feel like that's mercy, in a sense of where, like, they don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you just don't deserve it, but
Yeah.
they still end up giving it to you anyways.
So is that like a one-time thing, or no? I mean, like, so what you're saying? Do you mean by like that's your one chance? Do you mean like you show mercy once and then after they do it again?
Okay, so once somebody does something wrong, and you once they do something wrong, it's a mistake. That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You do it a second time,
And it's on purpose.
It's a choice.
it's a choice. That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
And I agree with you.
right, yeah. I mean, it's as easy as, smoking. We'll just go with smoking as for an instance. First time, it's not an accident because, I mean, obviously you have to put the cigarette in your mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's your choice to pick up another one.
Right.
And once it's a choice, it's out of question.
Right.
I don't feel like,
No, feel sorry for that.
it's like my dad has always told me, first time he asks me to do something, do it right. Don't make me ask again. There's no reason why I should ever have to ask you again.
So how about this? Because I'm halfway playing devil's advocate with this, but like
He's like,
not necessarily like that, but I'm for real. So what about somebody who's like an addict? Or think about this, like once we become adults, some things are ingrained in us. So it's not necessarily
Like what?
always completely a choice. And the reason I say that is because like some people have been trained to do or to just think about protecting yourself. Like we all think I have to protect myself this way, so I'm not going to tell you the full truth, or I'm not going to let you in to this, level of vulnerability. Like some things can get personal. So like what about that when somebody's doing it over and over again as a defense mechanism or some habit that they've learned and now they're an adult? Like yes, it is a choice, 100%.
So in a sense, like, for an example, are you talking about like when I get hurt or angry, this is what I completely shut somebody out.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
And it's just how I am.
Right.
I've just learned to completely put up that wall.
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of like what you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about?
Yeah. And should I be like, oh, okay, like I just have to break this wall down? That's me showing mercy. It's like I just got to break this wall down in order for her to feel comfortable.
He does it all the time.
So, but he has to do more than once, is what I'm saying. He has to, again.
I mean, there are times where like you do, like I do shut down and like I completely want nothing to do with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like shut the phone off, like totally.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it's okay. I'm here. Like, it's not that you have to force yourself on somebody or any, like he forces himself to talk to me or be around me. But in a sense, I guess you could say he shows mercy in a way of like, I get it. We're working on it. Like I think I've gotten better at not shutting people out whenever I get mad. And I think it's just something you have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a personal thing. Like you have to, it's like recognizing that you have an issue. Like the first step is admitting it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I don't know.
What do you think?
That's what I look at it.
About what?
Justice and mercy.
So you'll like this. You'll like this. You got a lot of this backstory, but like my dad, I think about my dad all the time when it comes to the subject of justice or forgiveness or mercy or anything like that. So the story of my dad, and I don't mind sharing this and getting in detail, but it's a very long story. But my whole life, my dad was there. He was in the house. He provided for my family. He wasn't one of those guys that was gone. So I don't want to make this seem like the worst dad ever. But to keep it simple, he was, I would say, mentally abusive or emotionally abusive or neglectful, maybe would be the right word. So my entire life, I was looking to run away. Like my entire life. I thought I was adopted until I was 16 years old. And I was legitimately, I wanted to run away from my house my entire life. Looking from the outside, everyone thought that everything was perfect with my family, like my cousins, his work environment. Like everyone was like, "Oh man, you guys have such a great family." Blah
White
blah blah.
picket fence type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we weren't like rich, but like that's what everyone thought. Like everything was going great just because of the way that everything looked. So something happened. As soon as I got out of high school, I was like, "All right, cool, scot free. I'm good." Like. It wasn't animosity against him. It was just like, all right, cool. I finally get to get away from you guys. Like, no more drama. I don't have to deal with it anymore.
Peace out.
He roped me back into something because he decided to make a choice to separate our family, to keep it short. And when he separated our family, he tried to invite me into his new family that he had developed without me knowing, or without any of us knowing. Yeah. So there was a lot. Yeah, there was a lot there that I was kind of blindsided by, and now, Garrett had literally watched me go through the process of trying to mend that relationship with him, and now I'm at a point though. It's like, man, my life is much better without you. But everyone's always like, you only got one parent. I think you said it today, like, you only got one set of parents, and every single time I hear somebody say that, I'm like,
I noticed that about your face whenever you said that. It makes sense now.
Yeah, I'd rather not have any parents.
Right.
I'd rather not have any parents at all. So it's always interesting, and I don't have no clue how to deal with it. I hear all these stories about how people mend their relationships with their parents, and their life is much better after that. I don't know if that's true for everybody.
I don't think it is.
And for me,
Every situation's different.
yeah, I think for me, forgiveness at this point in life, not saying this is true, but at this point in life, I don't feel like angry at him. Obviously, I want nothing to do with him, so I'm not going to say that I've completely forgiven him, but I'm not angry at him anymore. Before, I was like angry at this man and wanted to go off and all this stuff and wanted to talk about him, but now it's like, honestly, I forget about him sometimes. I was telling somebody the other day that I forget that on the end of my name is the second. So sometimes when I'm having to do business stuff, like, I got to make sure that I include that part of my life because I've forgotten about him that much.
So you're like a Leonard.
I'm the second.
Really?
I know, right?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know. I forget it sometimes too, believe it or not. Just because I've tried to, I've legitimately separated that. It's a big part of my life, but I've separated a lot of those feelings and stuff like that from my life. So I don't know where forgiveness. I don't know how much it takes. I let a lot of people do stuff to me, especially in my work environment, that shouldn't be done. That shouldn't be tolerated, and that's me trying to show grace. Where the line is, I don't know. I think
mercy and grace go a lot hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think once that line starts to get crossed, it's time to run as fast as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
100%.
So I haven't figured it all out, but.
And I mean, you're not supposed to.
That's where I am right now. Yeah, maybe we're not supposed to.
Part of the ride, man.
Yeah.
It sucks because it's like you want it, but you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to say that, oh man, my dad has taught me so much, and call my dad up because I got a new promotion, or Father's Day rolls around, and you have stories about your dad all the time, and I find some enjoyment in that, but it's always odd, like, I wonder, like.
You wonder what it would be.
Yeah, like, what?
You can have my dad.
My
dad will gladly take you.
How does that,
He'll adopt you.
feel?
You could be a third.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
You're welcome.
yeah, but I think part of it, though, too, I mean, like what she said, it's totally different for each person. And so if you've had a different life than a lot of the people that I know, and you've probably had a different life than some of the people that you know.
Yeah.
But if that's been your mentality for so long, I mean, it's just what it is.
Right. Yeah. So how do you guys, like in your daily life, or can you think about somebody right now that you need to forgive? How do you guys handle that? Or what do you guys suggest for somebody that should handle that,
How should someone go about forgiving?
Yeah, how should you go about forgiveness? So for like with my dad, like I feel like I have a plan on how I should forgive him.
What's your plan, if you don't mind me asking?
So yeah, I don't know how to get in contact with him necessarily, or I won't say that. I don't have his contact information. That is intentional at this point. We lost contact at some point. I tried to get in contact with him. I tried to stay in contact. We lost contact. I was like, all right, well, that's my excuse to not talk to him anymore. So now I'd be fine to contact. And number one, express my opinions as a man. Like not.
Come to him as an adult.
Yeah, come to him as an adult. Like,
right.
Hey, like this is what hurt me. This is where my issue started.
This is how I feel. You want to lay it out in front of him, present it to him.
Exactly. Yeah. So just start there, and say, hey, where can we have a relationship? Like it's not that like, hey, I want you to be my dad again, but like
having just somebody in your life, kind of like.
I don't even know if it's that.
Okay.
It's just that I'm, and I didn't know this for a long time, but like I'm his only son, I guess. You know, which is pretty sad. I'm his only child, not his only son. I'm his only child, his only real child that I know of, I guess. So you know. So you know, like just having that
Wow.
relationship, like I probably should have a relationship. You know,
I mean,
I'm sure I can learn something from him. You know.
I lost contact with my dad. My dad and I hit a rough spot like 3-4 years ago. I wanted nothing to do with my dad. And it's nothing, it's not in the same aspect, but it started when I took my dad out of my life, mentally and physically, it screwed me up. Like, I 100% serious, I gained at least 50 pounds. Like, I was not healthy. It was disgusting. Like, there are times where I look at pictures when I didn't have a relationship with my dad, and I look at myself and I'm like, that's gross. Why did I ever let myself get that way? But then I just finally, I started having a relationship really back with him, just for the simple fact that, like, he's the only one that's been there. And it's not, and I mean, I guess I just looked at it as, I don't know what I would do without him. Like, you want to take, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like I don't want to say like a breakup. This isn't like go back and get with your ex type, like, talk right now. But, like, it's how you kind of sit there and makes me think of a breakup, how you're like, man, I wonder what it would be like if things would have went differently.
Yeah.
I think the best thing, my advice to you, Leonard, would be, I wrote a letter to my dad. He's never read the letter. I still have the letter. I wrote it all out. Completely. Like, this thing's like 6 pages long, handwritten.
Dang.
Yeah. It's actually underneath our bed.
Dang.
I swear it is. It is. It's underneath our bed. And once I wrote it out, I don't know why, and I felt I felt so much better.
Dang. Okay.
I don't know if you're a writer or anything like that, or if you need to sit there and, like, record yourself talking. No, it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But, like, once you know when you express yourself and you're like, man, that feels good. Like, maybe that'll help.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I think that getting in front of them or calling or whatever and kind of listening that stuff out. Some people say that gives you closure.
It gives you closure. I think it would also, if you were to go present yourself in front of him, and I feel like you're that kind of man, this is the kind of man you are very, 1, 2, 3, 4. You are, I value that a lot about you, because you're very, like, organized, and I wish I was like that. But, like, you have to present it in a manner of where you're not pointing all the fingers.
Right, yeah.
Because that's where you get somebody to put up a defense mechanism. So, like, you can point fingers, but it's like, what do they say? You can always point a finger, but you always have 4 pointing back at you.
Yeah, it's typically 3, but...
Right, but, you know, if you're really talented, you can do 4.
Might be a different species or something.
Otters.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, presenting it in a, not like an orderly fashion, but
Like
just...
a loving
No, I get what you're saying. It's a conversation more so than like this, you did this, you did this, you did this is why I'm mad.
And not coming off hostile, too.
Yeah.
Like, very, I guess you could say, getting it together, just woosah, like.
Yeah.
Who's your person? Not who's your person, but is there somebody that you can think of?
My dad as well. I mean, me and my dad have had a relationship. I don't know. I think our relationship kind of went south when I was just turning into a teenager, because it was, and I don't want to make excuses for him, but him growing up, he I remember I invited Leonard over. I don't know, it was probably 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4, when we were in college, and Dad would talk about the same stuff all the time. I mean, he always has. When he pulled himself up by his own bootstraps when he was 13, went out and worked full time, made his own clothes and blah, because his mom and dad didn't have it. And so around that time, he grew up essentially. And so when we reached right around that age, the boys anyway, didn't know what to do with us. And so he just kind of stopped. I don't want to say he stopped being a dad, but at the same time he stopped being a dad. He was always out working, and then as soon as he came home, he would sit and watch TV, and then wouldn't interact. From then all the way up until I got into college, and then after he got used to me being back around, it was just the same thing. I don't know. I think I definitely have tried to tell him how I felt, but I think it's a two-way street. I think I've definitely held on to a lot of it as well, instead of just being one and done. But I know that I need to reach out to him.
You think it's mendable?
I definitely think it is. I think part of my thing is that I know my mentality is totally different than other people that I know and than him, but part of it is just because I'm your kid and you expect me to grow up a certain way doesn't mean that I can't love you or vice versa. And
yeah.
So that would be pretty much what I would say. We don't have to agree, but it doesn't have to change anything.
What would you guys tell your kids if they need to forgive somebody? I don't care how serious the situation was. What would you tell your kid?
How to do it, or what they should do to do it?
Either one.
I don't know. I think that's tough, man. I would say it's easier to forgive than to hold a grudge. For sure.
Okay.
Because holding a grudge feels nice. Stick it to the man. But you're more so the only one thinking about it, whereas that person's probably already been past it and doesn't even think about
That's
it.
true. Yeah.
And so you're the one that's super angry and bitter, and they literally have no idea why, because that's just something that happened and then whoosh out.
That's a good point. You holding on to it, and I can tell you for me in work as well as in my personal life, I've kind of been frustrated. Man, I'm such a stress-free person. I don't know if you know this or not, but I am typically
You don't
extremely,
break out, so yeah, I clearly know that you're a stress-free person.
I used to break out a lot. No, I typically am so stress-free. No matter what's going on, it's
Give me some of those vibes, please.
Yeah, I can take care of it, or it'll be fine. I'll figure it out. No big deal. But past probably 4 years or so, and it hasn't been the whole 4 years. 4 years or so, it's probably been oh my gosh, I'm holding this against this person, and at some point I was feeling pain in my chest, for real. I was wanting to go to the hospital and doctors because of the pain in my chest. And I've heard of other people dying because of the stress, and I'm sure it's because of holding on to just the different things that people have done to you, whether it's on purpose or not on purpose, and most of the time it's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's it's funny that you say that, because I've told her all the time, I'm just constantly thinking all the time about I wonder how that was made. I wonder what it used to be like before there were roads. I wonder, and so if you look at the value of people's life that are carefree compared to the people that are constantly holding on to stuff and constantly bitter, not only is their lifespan longer, but their way of life is way better. Way better.
Yeah.
They don't have their health is much better. They're not constantly mental and physical, just way better. And it's nuts to me how that correlates to how we treat people.
Right.
It just is.
It's funny how Mountain Dew is a correlator to that too. We'll talk about that on another podcast, but that's something that blows my mind. People who eat trash, drink Mountain Dew, smoke cigarettes. Some of those people live super long lives.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some
Then you got
correlation
people.
with that. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Well, yeah, I was listening to this one lady talk who was like 98, 99, and they always ask old people like that are up to like almost triple digits, what's the secret to long life? She's like, a beer a day and all the bacon you can eat.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way. If I had a beer a day and all the bacon I could eat, my lungs and heart would just quit.
That's funny.
There's no way that's the secret. I think a lot of it is genetics. It's
Hey,
all in the genes.
that would suck if it was this whole time. All of us are trying to like eat super
Yeah.
healthy or work out.
Yeah.
And do all this
Yeah, and
crap.
they're like, it doesn't matter. If
That's
you're going, you're going. You can just look better than someone else. That's it. What do you think?
For what?
What we're talking about?
Thank you. For what part? Leonard, for what part?
I think we're asking, like, what would you ask, or what would you give advice to your kid? Like, how would you advise them?
I don't know.
That's
I
tough.
find it very, forgiveness is hard. You have to find it within yourself. Somebody else can't make you forgive somebody. And, I mean, I would probably give my kid like a little story on how I relate. You guys said your dad's. Mine's so more my mom. My mom wasn't around like at all when I grew up. My parents divorced when I was 2. And my dad raised me. So like my mom, like still to this day, wants nothing to do with me. And like there's nothing more than I want at least than a relationship with her. So like it would depend. Like, it sucks. That's the best way I could put it for a kid.
Yeah.
Forgiveness sucks, but you have to genuinely, you have to be the better person.
Yeah.
And it's hard being the better person because you're like, well, they deserve this. Well, you know what? As bad as it sounds, I know a lot of people are like, well, karma doesn't exist. What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
There's a reason why everything happens. And I mean, it's not saying that, oh, well, since my mom's not been around, she's gonna get karma. But, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just let my kids know that you can't hold on to things because it's just gonna make you more and more mad.
Yeah. My advice to my kid, and then I want you to end this on a dad joke after I talk a little bit, but my advice. Do you have any dad jokes?
Yeah, I have a dad joke. I got
Does she
some.
ever?
Oh, I got
We
this
got-
one.
We got 3 to bomb it, but my advice to my little kid would be, let it go, let it go.
You hit the wrong note there, but it's okay, buddy.
I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm not sure.
You
really
haven't
haven't
seen
seen it.
I think
Frozen?
we talked about this already. No, I have
Yeah.
not seen it.
I'm bringing it
You're not
next
much
time.
of a kid movie though,
Let
are
it
you?
go.
Do you have Blu-ray?
That's
I got
fair.
Blu-ray for you.
There's no hope anymore. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, you're killing it.
in the backyard. My album ain't dropped yet. I'm still waiting on Gary to get his ish together to mix and match. That's all. Hey,
Yep.
album coming soon, y'all. So stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Coming soon to iTunes everywhere.
It's SoundCloud first.
Yeah, SoundCloud first. Whatever.
SoundCloud.
So I have this quote in one of my quote banks, but we talked about a lot of like I guess anger today, more so than like forgiveness, justice, and mercy.
Yeah.
But
Well-
this quote says, "Anger makes dull men witty, but it keeps them poor." And it kind of goes with that point that you made about like, yeah, you might be angry. Let me stick it to the man, but you're the one who's lacking
Yep.
because of it. So
Yep.
that was a pretty relevant quote. And then also, we're about to do some hot fire things for the youth. Hot fire.
Snaps.
What is
No.
that?
Snaps instead of claps.
Snap, snap, snaps.
It was just like,
Yeah. It's like trying to start
sounds like
fire
a chicken
over
wing.
Yeah.
That's great.
But if you're listening, you need to help us teach these kids justice, mercy, self-esteem, soft skills on life, how to be independent, creative.
#smart.
Yeah. #smart coming to you soon. Seriously. Now, we're about to come out with some really, 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 really cool and beneficial stuff. So we need everybody possible on board. If you know a middle schooler, high schooler, if you know an educator, if you are an educator, middle schooler, if you care about kids, if you care about the next generation, like for real, reach out, get in contact with us, because we're about to do some big things. Big things.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this stuff.
Yeah. Anybody got anything to add on that, or we want to turn it over so we can bomb the end of this podcast?
Let's bomb it up.
Okay, how many dad jokes do I get?
You get three chances.
Yes! Okay.
I always give you 3 chances to bomb it. So.
Alright, so...
She's laughing already. It's a terrible sign. We're screwed.
I just watched a program about beavers.
Is this part of the joke?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the best damn program I've ever
Oh.
seen.
Wow.
This is my... Oh, I've already told that one. The buffalo one.
We should stop. We should stop right now.
Oh, no. We got this one.
You got a
Maybe
better
one?
one?
Bleep buttons or something.
What does an annoying pepper do?
It's all up in your face.
Next. Last night I dreamt I was a muffler. I woke up exhausted.
Oh my gosh, you always bomb. The first one was the best one.
Whatever.
The first
Okay,
one was
fine.
the best
Okay.
one.
Why did the
No.
No. This was better. Okay, I'll end it on a good note.
We didn't say you get 4.
4.
It's alright. I'll give you mercy.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow. Leonard
Thank
taking it like a champ.
Why did the scarecrow win an award?
Oh my gosh.
Because he was outstanding in his field.
I hope that at least one person
What do you get when you
appreciates the dad jokes.
cross a snowman with a vampire?
At least one of y'all.
You go for number 5?
Heck yeah, last one. Final one.
Hold on a second.
Oh.
What do you get when you
need to
cross a snowman
we
with
need
a
to
vampire?
we need to save some for the next time.
Frostbite.
The next time we.
You're welcome.
Actually, I saw that somewhere.
Probably Frozen.
Nobody laughed?
They
Okay.
laughed. They laughed
Yeah.
on the podcast.
If
I
you
hear
guys
the
laughed,
laughter.
like it, subscribe, and
Give me
type-
more dad jokes to tell, because I will definitely tell
Yeah.
them.
Yes, please submit some good dad jokes so we don't have to listen
Good,
to others.
Thanks,
good
guys.
dad jokes, please.
Thank you.
Just one, at least one.
Or mom jokes.
Tag us, subscribe, follow
Mom
us on
jokes.
Instagram,
Grandma jokes.
and Facebook, and
Yes.
hopefully you guys are just as excited as we are for this next hot stuff. So, join us next time. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.